Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special Major Money. As always, we have Ross with us, and I do want to start out with saying we did have to pre-record this just due to some scheduling conflicts. So if any of the lines or anything's a little bit different, please forgive us on that. But we have a very special episode today because if you know, and if you keep up with either of us, Ross is a big Ohio State fan. Me, most of y'all probably know I'm a big North Carolina fan as well as Tennessee, have Tennessee football season tickets. Wish this game was in Neyland. I would be there. But maybe I can find a way to go, all the way to Columbus. Probably not, but I would love to. I would love to. So big Tennessee fan. So when it was drawn, college football playoff, Ohio State versus Tennessee, we said we have to do a special show on that week where Ross picks three of his favorite Ohio State props: one quarterback, one pass catcher, wide receiver, a tight end, and then a running back. And I do the same for Tennessee. So it's just a fun little competition. We'll see who gets more right. I don't care if I go 0 for 3 if Tennessee wins, to be honest with you. I'll sacrifice some dollars to get a Tennessee win in the college football playoff. But before we get into those picks, we have a couple things, as always, we need to talk about. First, it's going at the bottom of your screen. Use code 5 for $50 instantly when you create a $5 lineup. You can also see that right here. It's a new member offer. It does not matter if you're in arena state or if you're in a standard prize pick state. It works in all of them. So yes, including Florida. If you watched the show a couple times and you just thought you couldn't use prize picks because that was a thing, you can and you have for a while. So it's not too late to jump in though with that code 5. That's FIVE. Second thing is we have a free square. When you're seeing this, you'll have about 5 days left. It is for Christmas Day. Nikola Jokic, arguably the best player in the NBA against the Phoenix Suns. All he has to do is score a point, and we all know that that is easy money, easy money. So those are the special promos we have. So I'm going to, as always, I'm going to kick it off to Ross first to give us, we'll just go, what is your quarterback pick? We'll go your quarterback pick first. We'll section it this way.
Let's do it that way. I like that. So we're going Will Howard, and I just don't really know. I mean, I have an idea on how the game's going to go. I think Will Howard's going to get some pass attempts. I think that this game could go through the air, but ideally, I think there's going to be very long drives. Okay. I think that, you look, he's gone under that. He's only gone over that, I believe, 3 times, one against Michigan, one against, I want to say Oregon. And then he had one more, I know, randomly in the year, but I just don't see this game being, 10 possessions in the game. I think this game is going to be very close. I think the spread is crazy to me personally. Again, at home, an Ohio State fan. This game worries me. I think this game is going to be on the ground a lot. I think a lot of time is going to come off the clock. There's going to be a lot of audibles. I think there's going to be a lot of different things. And I just see Ohio State focusing, trying to get on the ground. They know they have the pass game. They got 3 or 4 different guys that you can really look for in the air, but you also have arguably 2 of the top 5 running backs in college football. I know a lot of people are talking about both those guys getting drafted first, second, third round. And I just don't see this game being very heavily through the air. And if it is, still, I don't think he gets over this line. Again, he's only went over it in the Michigan game where they really had to, went over it in the Oregon game. Again, I think he had 35 attempts in that game, which he absolutely had to. And then there was one more time this year where, again, they had to go through the air. I think this game is on the ground, long possessions, Will Howard's under pass attempts. And I think me and Major agree on that.
Yes. To preface, and I'll go to my pick, is obviously going to be a Nico Iamaleava pick. And ironically, it's under pass attempts for Nico as well. We don't know what pick Ross is doing. We only know right before we start, just to make sure we're prepared and it's easier for me to find all the picks and all that stuff. But when we're picking, we don't talk and be like, hey, what are you thinking this game's going to be like? But basically what Ross just said is exactly how I envision this game. I think both teams have good defenses, right? Both teams are literally top 3 in the nation, probably for most people's standards. A lot of people are saying like Tennessee, Ohio State, and Texas are about the top 3, and that, from what I've seen, that's pretty unanimous. Tennessee's offense depends what half it is. They're a lot better in the second half since they started SEC play. They absolutely murder inferior teams, and so people look at their scoring and are like, "Wow, they put up a ton of points." They still put up a respectable amount of points, but it's like one half at a time. I was saying they don't to play a full game. But I think with Ohio State's defense, I think this could be another quote unquote lower scoring game for the college game. Maybe some big plays here and there, but I think both teams are going to lean on their running backs and, chip away, long drives, short throws for Nico, 5-10 yards, those little bubble screens they like doing. Nico does not hit this number of 27.5 a lot. You can see it's hit 2 of the last 5. Against Kentucky and Georgia are the others. But I just don't see it. I could see him getting around there, and I consider doing pass completions because he has been real efficient with his passes due to the bubble screens and everything. But I see this almost exactly how Ross said it, longer possessions and just leaning on running backs, taking up more time than both teams are used to on the offensive end, and a lot of third downs. And Tennessee goes slower on third downs, which opens up more clock usage. So, Ross, we both have our quarterbacks. We both had the same exact prop of under pass attempts. We'll go to your pass catcher. What is your pass catcher prop?
Pass catcher. We'll go there. So I'm going to go with a guy. Coming into the season, I didn't really know how he was going to be. His name's Carnell Tate, for anybody that does not know. His receiving yards, so it looks like we're at 51.5. Cool. So right now, 51.5, if you guys are watching this, might be changed. But 51.5, Carnell Tate, he is pretty much the third option. Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, you guys will probably know those names. But Carnell Tate has sneakily been one of the more reliable guys on this team that I've seen all season. I thought it was going to be Brandon Inniss, who was another guy same year that Carnell Tate is. But it went to Carnell Tate. He's got a lot more looks. He's the third guy, and he's not hit this line 2 times this year, one against Penn State, one against Oregon. And I know I just talked about those are the games Will Howard had to have a lot of attempts. But those are the only 2 games this year he has not hit this line. And in the past 4 games, he's smashed it and gone over every single time. So it's kind of been around the same line. I know it's the third guy out of the wide receiver group, but Emeka Egbuka has had an up and down year. Jeremiah Smith started out super hot, kind of fizzled, and they're kind of branching out and getting everybody else involved on this team in the passing game. I'm loving, though, the Carnell Tate train. He is a guy that he can play the slot a little bit. He can go out and get a deep ball catch here and there. He's had about 4 or 5 receptions every single game this year. Beginning of the season was kind of a little bit less than that. I'm trying to get him into the rotation. But he's a guy that I just trust catching the ball. The ball goes his way. I think he's definitely going to get there. And I know we go lower on the pass attempts, but this is a guy that can get 52 passing yards very quickly. And I love the Carnell Tate line over here on his receiving yards.
Yeah, and being a guy that's watched every Tennessee game, they do sometimes let up some big plays, especially on third downs and stuff like that. So I like that play as well. I think there's available props for yardages, even though we don't think there's going to be a lot of pass attempts. And I think it's funny that you basically went with the third option for the passing. I basically am doing that same thing. I'm going Miles Kisselman. He is a tight end. I'm going over 19.5 reception yards. You can see, I don't know why this is so low. I don't know if I've maybe missed some news. So maybe are like, Major, you're stupid. He, has a hurt ankle and they said he's not going to play a lot. I have not seen anything. I've looked for a lot of stuff, not have noticed. He has become like emerged as their basically number 3. Number 1 is Brew McCoy, always going to be Brew McCoy. You got Dante Thornton, and if he's healthy, he's pretty much their big play threat. And then we got Miles Kisselman, who has been that safety valve, that reliable tight end that has been doing a lot of work, a lot of familiarity with Nico there. So that is who I'm going with, over 19.5. I mean, if you look how he's been in recent games, doesn't matter if they're playing Vanderbilt, Georgia, Kentucky at 97 yards. Doesn't matter if they're playing good teams or not. Mississippi State was a dud. That was a little bit of a different game, though, to be honest with you. A lot of people's stats were lower in that game just due to the type of game it was. And even then, if you're looking at this, it was 8 yards, and that's only 12 off. And, he didn't play his normal share. So Kisselman, the way he's been integrated into this offense, I think this is a phenomenal line today. So maybe it'll change. Maybe people will catch on and it'll change. But Ross, we're going to go over to your running back play. What play are you going here?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said earlier, there's two guys for this Ohio State team coming in the transfer. But I'm not going with the transfer. I'm going with the guy that's been there the past 2 years, TreVeyon Henderson. Over 49.5. Again, didn't hit it in Michigan game. We all know that was a horrible, horrible showing of the offense. Really embarrassing, honestly. And it's so fitting because it is Michigan, home or away, just the past 4 years. You just don't got it. So we're not even going to look at that. TreVeyon Henderson, not going to look at that game. He is averaging still 7 yards a carry. He is the guy that's out there for the most part. Quinshon Judkins is there on the goal lines a lot. But they do vary it off depending on what kind of looks they're wanting to get out there. But again, averaging 7 yards a carry. He's averaging about getting around 10-9 attempts. So do the math there. If he gets 9, he's getting 63 yards off of his averages. He has some yards to spare. And again, we like this game on the ground. I don't think he's going to get under double-digit rush attempps. I think that this is, again, one of those games they're going to ground and pound the ball. I know it's scary because they both have 2 running backs that could get it, whereas Tennessee has their big one. But again, I love going TreVeyon Henderson. The Quinshon Judkins, I think he's going to get stuffed. He's been really – and it's hard because also Ohio State's biggest offensive lineman is out for the season. So it's kind of tough to go with the over. But again, 7 yards a carry. TreVeyon Henderson has been the guy, and he steps up almost every single time they have a bowl game or a playoff game. I'm going with TreVeyon Henderson. I love the over for his line. He's got to get 50. He hasn't hit that in 2 games, and the 2 games were Michigan, and he didn't hit it against Nebraska. Every other game, Oregon, Penn State, Indiana, he went over. So give me his over. He's hit it in the last 4 out of 5. He did not hit it again in the Michigan game. That is it. So give me his over. Love this line.
Yeah, 50 seems a little bit low. I know you mentioned the 2-headed monster, but that seems a little bit low, especially because a lot of people's interpretation of this game. So we'll see there. As y'all know, if y'all are fans of the show, Tennessee's running back, Dylan Sampson. I mean, I've played his props more than anyone else on the show. And I'm gonna continue just taking over rushing yards. It's 93.5. That is a lot. But my gosh, when you look at his games this year, he is shattering that. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Game script against Georgia, that's not favorable for running back. Still has 100. Against Mississippi State, how we said a lot of people didn't have stats. Dylan Sampson still got his stats. Vanderbilt still got his stats. The past 5, the only one he hasn't hit is against UTEP. Once again, that game, like, stats are out the window. They played like first half. I'm not even sure if Dylan Sampson played the whole first half off the top of my head. They just shatter this. Now, I think even if he doesn't get long rushes, so like I was considering, because he breaks them off a lot, a 20-yard rush, his longest rush. I was considering going over on that because he is a pretty good big play running back too. I think he can chip away this 3 to 5 yards a carry every single time. Those grind it out. Tennessee, everyone thinks, with Hendon Hooker a couple of years ago, even Joe Milton last year, even at times with Nico, people in their head think they pass more because they're known for deep balls, right? They're throwing the deep ball. They haven't thrown the deep ball as much this year, but people still think of Josh Heupel as an air raid all the way back to UCF. it's actually built all on the running game. Like they are a run first team. They will tell you they are a run first team. Dylan Sampson, offensive player of the year for the SEC. Honestly, a crime he didn't finish top 10 in the Heisman. Do you know the 2 of the past 8 SEC offensive player of the year that have not won the Heisman? So in the past 8 years or something like that, every SEC offensive player of the year has won the Heisman except for 2 times Tennessee player has won it. Dylan Sampson and Hendon Hooker. Wild. There's something going on there. Peyton Manning never won a Heisman either. Something going on. But I'll get off my soapbox. 93.5. I'm going to hit this. I don't care how the game goes. He's going to hit it, right? Whether it's a lot of rushes or maybe he does break off a big one. It's going to happen. He's going to hit 100 yards. I would take this all the way up to 99.5, to be honest with you, because I just don't fathom him not getting 100 from watching every single Tennessee game this year. They always rely on him, and he always delivers. Doesn't matter the quality of opponent, the quality of defense, he is there. So now we have 6 picks for one game. You can combine them all. 6 correct, 18x if you want to do the flex play, if you're like, some of these I'm not really feeling, or if you just don't want to take as big of a risk. Or we can do the power play. 6 correct, 31x, $20 to win, $620. That is a great steal right there. I think based off both what we're saying and our game scripts are pretty much the exact same, I think a lot of these have a very good chance to hit. It's funny, we both chose under pass attempts and quarterback. Both basically chose what has been about the third option or so for the quarterback to go over, kind of that safety blanket, and then both over on the main running backs rushing yards. So we're very similar on our game script here. Ross, I'll throw it to you real quick. Give me, it doesn't have to be an exact score, but give me Ohio State, Tennessee. I assume you're picking Ohio State. How much do you think they win by?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously I'm going to go with my team. They have Oregon in their sights. They know they got to go play Oregon. They want to get that get back. They're at home. It's going to be loud. It's going to be popping. I'm expecting a score 31-27 Ohio State. I think there'll be some scores. I think the field goal, if you want to take our kicker's field goal, he does have a demon play. It's 1.5. I could expect a lot of field goals as well. These defenses are great. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. 8 o'clock Saturday night. It's going to be a game, and it's both teams, if they were to make it to the national championship, they have the toughest possible way to go. Either Tennessee's got to beat Ohio State, Oregon, and then Texas, or Ohio State has to beat Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas. And I wish we were on the other side, but we got this. Look for Ryan Day to say, hey, don't fire me after this year, because if he does not make it to the national championship, it is done. I am over the Ryan Day experience. I've heard Mike Vrabel is the next guy in if that happens, and I will take it. So Ohio State 31-27. I like it. 4-point game. Take Tennessee with the points.
I like that 31-27, but I'm going to flip it, right? So I think it's going to be, like I said, I don't know exact score prediction. This one's really hard for me. I could see them being a lot of points, or it's somehow 14-20, just a slugfest. Both teams are fine with a slugfest too, in my opinion. I mean, you had Ohio State. They played a slugfest with Michigan. They think the cold is going to help them. You see that maybe put some pressure on Nico and all of them. But I think it's going to be about a 5 to 6 point game. Tennessee, I feel like I'm 100% biased, but I think Tennessee actually has a pretty good chance. The biggest crime, and I agree with you on, is Oregon got screwed. So I will say that they have to play Ohio State or Tennessee, which heck of a reward for the 1 seed. You don't get Boise State, SMU, Arizona State. You don't get anyone that anyone would like to play. You get stuck with 2 teams that are top 5 quality, no matter who wins. So whoever comes out of that little section is going to have the toughest path. So I think we're in for some great games. Ohio State, Tennessee is the game of the weekend by far. It's going to be crazy. It's the night game for a reason. Tennessee fan base haven't had much to celebrate for a little while. We've had a couple years recently of real good, but nothing quite like college football playoff. Ohio State trying to get back there. Like I said, Ryan Day's national championship are fired potentially. So crazy situation there. It's going to be a quote unquote hostile environment. I think there's a little bit of bad blood for whatever reason against the two fan bases, even though they never play each other. That's only the second time in history. So thank you to Ross for coming on. We will see how this game goes. We'll see how our picks do as well. We'll see y'all next time. Remember, use that code 5 for the new member offer, as well as that Nikola Jokic free square. Be sure to use that. We'll see y'all next Friday to resume a standard Major Money.